What's going on YouTube? So today we've got a really good install video. This is going to be a budget lift for the JT Mojave. I really like the suspension on it. It's soft. I feel like I'm going to go to a adjustable shock later down the road, but at this point I really want to get some wear and tear on the existing shocks, especially you know, Mojave has its own unique shocks to it. So we're going to install the 2-inch AEV spacer kit, so stay tuned. Alright, so first things first, you're going to want to make sure you have either 2 or 4 6-ton jacks for the vehicle, and then you want to make sure that you have your 2-inch spacer suspension kit with you, and they look something like this. There's a spacer kit, and then these are the jacks that I got. I got these at Harbor Freight, about 160 bucks for both sets. So I wanted to make sure that I had an extra set, because just in case, you know, something failed, and you know, I had some backups here that I can prop up while I'm jacking up the vehicle. So get yourself some of these if you don't have any. Real inexpensive, versus, you know, going to like the whatchamacallit, like a, you know, off-road shop where they're trying to charge you a lot of money to do this. So when I priced it out, it was probably about, for someone else to do it, probably about $1,000 to $1,500 ballpark. But with that kind of money, I said, you know what, I'll buy a couple of jacks. I have a jack lift that I can actually use, so a 3-ton. So a 3-ton jack lift, and then 4 jack stands I think should be good. So, and then and you can use them for later. So save you some money, and hopefully you know what you're doing, and make sure that you read the safety instructions and user manuals for some of this equipment and tools, because we don't want anyone getting hurt, or in the event of trying to do a spacer lift. So just be wise and make sure you know what you're doing before you get into this. I wouldn't say it's hard, I wouldn't say it's easy, but you just gotta have a know-how what you're dealing with before you get into it. Alright, first thing you want to do is just go ahead and shock your front wheels, because we're going to start at the back end first. What I did is I put a jack stand right behind the lower control arm. I've got 2 of them there, and then I've got one under here just to take off the tire. These are my 3-ton jacks that I've had, and I've got 2 over there on that side. You can kind of see. What you want to do next, after you get these 4, go into the next side, get the other 4. You're going to go underneath here, and there's your track bar right here. Okay, and then you're going to loosen this bolt and the bolt there at the end. Alright, next what you want to do is remove the ABS line from this hook. Alright, so after you disconnect the ABS wire there, you're going to need to go to your shocks. Come down to your shock mounts on the lower ends and loosen these, and you're going to have to remove these bolts here. After we do that, we're going to remove the sway bar, the rear sway bar here, links, so top and bottom, and remove this out of the way because we've got replacement part for that. And then I'm using a wrench just to kind of turn it while I'm holding it in place. What you do next is you're going to lower down your axle. Do it really carefully. That floor jack sucks, so get yourself something other than Craftsman 3-ton capacity floor jack. But anyways, you should be able to move the spring out, and on top here's the spacer before, so you'll replace this with a new spacer, which is, let's see, which one is it this one? Or that one? Should be this one. Yeah, this one, because it's got the one tab here. So make sure you got that one tab here. This one have 2 tabs. So don't use the smaller ones. The smaller ones go to the front, but you use the larger ones. So you're going to take these, and these are much, you can tell how much bigger they are compared to the old one. So take these and stick them up there with the springs. And then one other thing to keep in mind is right here, this brake line right here. Make sure you don't stretch it out too much. That looks pretty stretched, so try not to get it that far stretched. Alright, the springs are in there with the spacer. Make sure that the tabs are aligned with the hole in the top, and make sure the spring is butted up against the spacer slot. Got that side and that side in, and the AEV, the symbol should point kind of towards the back. Alright guys, so what you want to do is you're going to need to remount these 2 holes to 13 30-seconds. I had something close to it, not too sure what it was, but I looked at the bolt and looked at the drill bit, so got those out. They're pretty good in size. And then after that, what you're going to do, let me take you around here side, is you're going to want to put the bump stop block in there with these flat heads, or these tapered heads in there, and put a washer and bolt in the back of those. You're gonna have to drill another hole back here once you put the new shock mounts on the bottom. So what it is, I just bolted them up, put a mark there at the end there, and I started to drill it. So I drilled the hole out, and now I'm going to do is just paint that so it doesn't corrode or rust for later. Got those bolted on. What you're going to do now is lift the axle in place so you can get the shock mounted in here. You'll use the factory bolts that you took off your shock before. Alright, we got the shocks back on, the new shock mount. Just a quick disclaimer, doing this by yourself is pretty tough, so allow yourself to have a lot of free time, because just trying to get everything in and out the way it needs to be does take some time, especially if you're looking for tools that you might have or might not have. And also it's good to have somebody either stand by or somebody at the house while you're doing this, because you never know if you're need the extra hand. Just real quick, we'll do a rundown on the rear. So we got the bump stops in there, the 2-inch spacers up there at the top, and we've got the end link here, the rear end link on both sides. So everything's torqued down to spec. We are good to go for the rear, so we'll put the tires on, and we will get going with the next steps. So one thing that I ended up picking up was this M12 Fuel brushless impact torque wrench. This is really nice to have. They've got these shock sockets on there as well, and this is kind of eliminate some of the brute strength that you put on some of the bolts. So I recommend you get one of these, and I'll kind of show you how it does here. Put it on there like that. We're gonna reverse it. This thing comes down. There you go. That's out. Okay, and then that's held up there. Now hold that. That's good. We'll put the spacers in there. All 3 of them. Make sure that's where it needs to be. That's good. Alright, that's in there. You can see that there. Those are the spacers you need to put in, so that's holding that up. And these bolts here, these OEM ones, these are not going to be long enough, so AV does have the required bolts for those, so let me go get those real quick. Alright, so there you go, there's the spacers, the 2 bolts. I had to get some washers, and I got a lock washer on it too, just because I'm not too sure what happened to my washers. I don't know if they came with my kit or not, but it seemed like I was missing them, either that or I misplaced them. But anyways, both of those, got some of those, torqued them to 50 foot-pounds each, and then marked them. So make sure you, after you torque, mark them, just so you can monitor them later in case something loosens up on you. Alright guys, so we're back. We've got to finish the front axle here, or the front lift here. I've got 2 jacks this time. I went out and purchased a second jack because the differential is on one side of the it's not centered like it is in the rear, so I wanted to have 2, that way I can kind of go up and down on each side and kind of save some time on trying to get that up in place. I also got a low profile jack, that way I can bring it down as low as I can. Picked that up at Harbor Freight, if anyone's wondering. And then I've got the 2 jacks set right behind this lower control arms here, right behind this frame brace as well too. That's where I'm going to position it. Got that on both sides here. We'll lift it up and then we'll get it into place. Alright, so loosen the lower control arms. These are easy, so I just took the torque wrench tool and loosened those. Fairly easy, especially with the other crescent wrench that I had. This one, don't put anything in here, because if you do anything, if you hold this nut, it's got a flag nut, and it's got a special well, it's a flag nut, so it's gonna hold on here. It's welded to this, so what you want to do is just loosen it on that side right there, and then over here at this end here, right there, that nut, it's pretty hard to reach. I took off the skid plate just so I can see more light, because it's kind of dark in here. That skid plate was pretty heavy, but that was fairly easy, especially with the torque tool. So this is amazing. Get one of these. This will help you out. This will loosen the load on your shoulders. Once I started using this, everything got a little easier for me. So other than that, there's some little heat shields here that the driver's side kind of gave me some pain, just because there's stuff that's in the way. So just try to take your time. Oh, and just to let you know, there's a, well, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a Jeep logo right there, the front grille on the drive shaft. That's pretty cool. Loosen the track bowl mounts. This is the one on the axle and the one up on the top. And then take off the end links here, the front end links, remove them completely, and then we will be going on to unbolt the bottom shock mounts there. Alright, so we've taken out the bolts, saved them for later with the nut, and then what you need to do is you need to loosen this harness here. You need to loosen the brake cables. So take this out. I just put the nut back here so I don't lose it. Move that out of the way. Electronic disconnect here. Take this out with these two Christmas trees. This one, and then there's another one that follows up right here. Just take those out. Pole mount. Then you should be good, and we can lower the front axle. Alright, so here's a spring out with the Mojave. It's got this boot on there and the spacers right here. What you're gonna have to do is cut off the zip tie that holds the boot, and then you can remove the spacer. The driver's side was easy to remove, a little bit more space. When you get to the passenger side, let's see here. When you get to the passenger side here, you've got to kind of maneuver it away from the links here, the steering links. So push this up and try to push this down as much as I could, and then was able to get the spring out. So I'm gonna have a pretty tight fit trying to get the new stuff in there, but we'll see what happens. And then same thing over here, we have to remove the zip tie, and then you can remove the boot with the existing spacer. Okay, so we got the spring on, and we got the spacer up here, and I put the boot on and put a new zip tie. This one, the passenger side, was very hard to get on. You're gonna have to lower this all the way down to the ground and squeeze this spring in there. So I had to kind of just keep bringing this in slowly. So I was able to get that in, keep this bump stop in there as well. And I've got to figure out how I'm going to actually put the nut on there, because you can see there's not too much space to put that in there. So got to put that down in there, and then we'll do the other side. I wanted to do the passenger side first though, because it was a little trickier, because the other side looks pretty good. I can get in there as no problem. Alright, so shocks are in. These are no joke. You have to open these bottom brackets up, so I had to go borrow a vise and open these, pull these open, because they don't fit the Mojave. And then on the passenger side, again, it's a little harder, so go get the driver's side on first, and then when you come over the passenger side, you're gonna have to lower it down all the way, and then make sure the shock is within the shock tower, and then kind of just make sure it comes in on the inside and not on the outside, because I was having trouble just coming from the outside. So pushed it in, and it finally lined up there. So a little patience. It took me a good hour and a half just to get the shocks in, so that's because I had to finish with these things. I've got the end links in there, the front links. Torqued those down to spec. I already had torqued the shock mount down to spec. I've torqued the lower and upper control mounts on both sides and reattached the heat shield to the upper. And I've already torqued down the track bar. So those are the items. That's about, yeah, it took me a good while, probably 6 hours just to do myself. So and then we're going to reconnect the other side here. Go in here. So this side I haven't reconnected, but what you want to do is just reconnect your brake lines, and then need the other. Here's the other wire harness for the axle. I'm gonna connect that up for sure. There, and close the pin, and then this one goes right in there. Just gotta stick it in there. It doesn't break. There we go. It goes in there, and then this one up here goes right in there. Right in there. So that one, that one's all connected. I just need to get the nut on that and secure that down. And we should be good to go. And then we can put the tires back on. And then what you're going to want to do is, I'll turn this around here. Holy shit. Okay, never mind. So what you want to do is, you're going to put the tires back on, and it's good to take it in for alignment just to make sure the steering wheel is straight and everything is straight. If you're not sure about your torquing on your bolts, please go to a professional shop, and have them torque them for you. These were pretty hard. It was 190 foot-pound, the lower control arms, and man, I had to put a lot of emphasis on those. So pretty tough. Again, you need a vise to open these up, or something to open these up, because they don't fit the Mojave pretty well. So these did take a lot of my time today. Again, like 6 hours in the back, 7 hours in the front. So a total of 14 to 12 hours altogether. And you know, I've just got tools all scattered out now because I've been picking things up and down. So I'm gonna put the bolt in on the other side for the harness, and then we'll continue on and finish this up. Hey guys, so we finished the install. The Jeep is lifted. It's got the 2-inch spacer. We've got 703 method bead grip wheels on there. BF Goodrich KO2s 37s. They're 37 by 12.5 by R17. So, and these are low D, so they're 69 pounds. The wheels are 21 pounds each. So try to save some weight on the wheels. Those are probably one of the best tires you can run as far as lightweight. You could go to a Load C, which is even more lightweight. I think the Load C weighs about 61 pounds for the KO2s. But I plan to do some hauling and loading up the back bed. So I went with the Load D, which is 69 pound weight. So you could save some weight doing that. The bead grips are awesome. Definitely recommend those, especially with going to a larger tire, because it gets heavier, they're harder to install, and you know, if you don't want to be muscling tires around, 37 is a good size to go with. Once you get past that, I've seen people run 38s, and those, I've been thinking about getting 38s, but for the axles that I got, the stock axles, and trying to keep it as stock as possible, I wanted to minimize the amount of cost I would be putting into my wheel upgrade at this point, and maybe save some money for down the road, and get some use out of these before I actually start modifying it into a larger wheelbase. So yeah, you're gonna want to have good tools. You're gonna want to have good placement. I've got a 2-car garage, however, I've got storing half of this space in here, so having more space to actually do your lift would be adequate. If you have a you know, a good lift in your garage, you're probably going to be better off with that instead of floor jacks and jack stands. But all in all, it's pretty easy install. A lot of brute force. Again, get some good tools, some tools that you're gonna know. A good sockets set, a breaker bar. You're gonna need a torque wrench at least to go up to 190 foot-pounds. You're gonna need some drills too. 13 and 32nd drill. bits to go into metal because there was some drilling involved for the back brackets for the shocks. So all in all, pretty easy install. Just took longer than I expected, especially with my time. I've got kids, and then I've got I got to tend to my wife because she's also, we also have an infant. So it was a bunch of back and forth, and then me doing it myself. It just took a little while, but all in all, pretty easy install. I had got the tires on there before, and there was no rubbing at all, no issues like that. Of course, I was just doing some highway driving and taking it through the neighborhoods, but I didn't notice anything. And right after that, I went ahead and installed that lift, and I still don't feel any rubbing, but I haven't taken this thing off-road yet. So time will tell, and I will definitely update in a review video when I do take this thing off-road and take some video of that, and hopefully this summer we can capture some of that in there. I've got a spare tire. I didn't mount the spare tire underneath the bed. What I did get is a DV8 spare tire carrier, and so it's going to go in the back of the bed, and it's going to be kind of a pre-runner style. It's got a 45-degree slant on there, and you can hook it up in there. And we tried to put the 37 at the bottom, but it didn't fit. If I deflate it, it might fit, but I kind of want to keep it inflated just because it's a pretty good sized tire, and I don't want to have the hassle with inflating it if I needed it. Right now I don't have an ARB twin compressor or a power tank to pump that up if I'm in a pinch, but we should get that mounted today. Maybe I'll probably show a video of that real quick. Probably not going to do an install on that because it's a pretty simple bolt-on spare tire carrier mount, but I can go into detail if you guys are interested. But anyways, like, comment, and subscribe, and y'all have a great day.